What am I even doing with my life? Does any of this really matter? Is this all there is? If you've ever had these thoughts, I just want to tell you, you're not alone. Hi, I'm Petrina. Welcome back to Pretty Deep. I am so glad you're here because here's something I've learned. Purpose isn't about what we do. It's about who we are. And that's something all of us, no matter our background, wrestle with. Life as a woman in this season can feel like a never ending juggling act. You're the cook, the cleaner, the driver, the caretaker, the professional, the entrepreneur, maybe all of the above. And somehow, when something slips, it's still your responsibility to fix it. We carry so much. Managing family schedules, remembering birthdays, tracking bills, juggling work, and holding a million little things in our minds that no one else even notices, but absolutely depends on. It's a lot. And because life is so full, it's easy to feel like you're just surviving day to day without the time or the space to ask deeper questions. Who am I beyond all these roles? What am I here to do? How can I make a difference? And maybe the hardest one of all, is this all there is? If you've ever felt like that, like you're stuck on a treadmill, running endlessly, but never really getting anywhere, I want you to know I've been there too, and I get it. Here's something else I've realized. We tend to look for purpose in big things, career achievements, success, external validation. But what if purpose isn't something far off that we've got to chase? What if it's something we uncover right where we are? Let's talk about that today. Rediscovering purpose in the right here and right now. Now, if you watched or listened to the last episode, you'll know that faith is a huge part of my life. And when it comes to purpose, I can't talk about it without talking about faith. Because for me, that's where everything changes. But here's the thing, I know not everyone listening shares my faith, and that's okay. Wherever you are in your journey, I invite you to lean in, to consider these ideas, and to take whatever resonates with you. I truly believe there's something here for everyone. And if you do share my faith, then you're going to love where we're going with this. Because later in the episode, we're diving deeper into what I believe about how God uniquely designed each of us for something greater. Today, we're going to talk about why so many women feel stuck in life's daily grind, how to start reconnecting with what excites you, practical ways to get clarity when you're feeling lost, the deeper truth about purpose that changed things for me. I hope that this feels like sitting down with a friend over coffee, someone who truly gets what you're going through and is here to cheer you on. So, grab that drink, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Here's something we don't always admit out loud. A lot of us tie our sense of self worth to what we do. If I'm not being productive, am I even valuable? If I'm not working towards something big, does my life matter? If I don't have a clear direction now, does that mean I'm falling behind? For years, I believed that my purpose was tied to my productivity. If I wasn't achieving, striving, or checking off a list of accomplishments, then I wasn't living in purpose. And if I wasn't doing, then I felt like I wasn't being. But over time, I've discovered purpose is not the same as a job or a title. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you are. And sometimes we get so caught up in what we're supposed to be doing that we don't even stop to ask ourselves, who am I really? What brings me joy? What impact do I want to make beyond just checking off to do lists? I had to learn this the hard way. A couple of years ago, I started and then wrote for and managed a food website for the New York Times. I did this for 10 plus years. It was something I built from scratch and I loved it. But I knew that that season was coming to an end. It was so clear in my spirit that it was time to move on. Yet I had no idea what was next. I felt completely adrift. To make matters worse, right in the middle of this transition, I lost my best friend to cancer. She was like a sister to me. And her loss, gosh, it shook me to my core. I was grieving deeply. And on top of that, I felt aimless. No direction, no clarity, just a deep, unsettling question. What now? And here's what I realized in that season. I was tying my sense of purpose to external things, to my work, to my achievements, to my productivity. But when all of that was stripped away, I had to face something deeper. Who am I beyond what I do? What actually makes my life meaningful? At first, I did what a lot of us do. I overanalyzed everything. I felt this pressure to figure it out, to make a plan, to map out the next chapter, and have certainty. And the more I forced the process, the more frustrated I felt. I didn't find the answer overnight, but I did something that changed everything. I stopped striving and I started paying attention. What am I naturally drawn to? What have I always loved, even before life got busy? What are the little things that make me feel like myself again? And you know what? In that season, I started to embrace the things that made me, me. I picked up my camera again. I started taking photos, capturing beauty, and creating something out of nothing. I gave myself permission to explore things, not with pressure, but with curiosity. And that's when it hit me. Maybe purpose is not about achieving more, but about rediscovering what already lights you up. Maybe it's not about finding a brand new path, but about recognizing how your past, your gifts, and your passions fit together. Maybe it's not something out there to chase, but something to uncover step by step. I want to pause here and ask you a question. What if the key to rediscovering your purpose isn't in doing more, but in remembering who you already are? Let's take a second to reflect. Think back to a time in your life when you felt completely alive. What were you doing? When was the last time you did something purely for joy, not just because you had to? If responsibilities and expectations were not a factor, what would you spend your time on? Maybe you already have the answers inside you. You just haven't had time to listen. And let's zoom out even further for a moment. Because this feeling, the one where you start questioning whether your life still holds the same spark, it's actually more common than we think. We all go through different seasons, and each one brings a new set of challenges. Maybe you're transitioning into a new role, motherhood, a career shift, or even an empty nest, and suddenly your identity feels uncertain. Maybe life is so full that you haven't had time to pause, and now you're wondering, is this really what I want? Or maybe you've checked all the boxes, family, career, responsibilities, and yet something feels missing. No matter where you are, I want to say this. You are not lost. You don't need to reinvent yourself to find meaning again. Sometimes purpose is not about changing your life. It's about changing the way you see your life. So what if instead of chasing after something new, you started noticing what's already there? That's what we're diving into next. Have you ever noticed how the way we are needed as women changes over time? When our kids are small, their needs are immediate and physical. They need feeding, bathing, dressing, driving around, and it's all consuming. But as they grow, their needs shift. They need us less physically, but more emotionally and mentally. When they're teens or young adults, our roles shift again. We go from being hands on caregivers to being their support person, the one who listens, encourages, calls out their greatness. And for those of us in the workplace, our professional roles evolve too. Maybe you're transitioning into leadership, shifting careers, stepping away from corporate life to start your own business, or even re entering the workforce after a bit of a time away. Change is constant, and it often forces us to reevaluate who we are outside of what we do. So, when life's transitions have us wondering, what now? The good news is you're not lost. You're just in a new season. And seasons of change are not meant to break you, they're meant to stretch you. This ties in with something I love from Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything, there is a season. Even if you're uncertain right now, wondering what's next, that doesn't mean you don't have purpose. It just means your purpose might be evolving. A way to navigate this? Reframe transition as an opportunity, not a crisis. If you're feeling unmoored, take inventory. What excites you now that didn't before? What skills or talents are you curious to explore? What kind of impact do you want to make in this season? You're not meant to stay the same forever. The version of you 5 years from now will have different passions, different dreams, maybe even a different calling. And that's not a failure, that's growth. Let's be real. Modern life is noisier than ever. We're constantly bombarded with notifications, tasks, obligations, expectations, and we juggle 1,000 moving pieces, keeping track of schedules, making sure everyone has what they need, remembering birthdays, planning meals, and somehow recalling random details like where that missing school form ended up or which drawer holds the spare charger. It's no wonder so many of us feel like we're just moving from one thing to the next, never actually pausing to breathe. But here's what I've learned: slowing down to reflect is not a waste of time, it is the space where clarity is found. Our purpose often gets buried under all the noise. If we never take a step back, we won't recognize the patterns, the passions, the desires that are quietly shaping us. One way to create clarity? Seek inspiration. Set aside quiet moments early in the morning, on a walk, or even while journaling. Reflect on what lights you up and where you feel most at peace. Step away from distractions and allow yourself to process your thoughts. For me, clarity always comes when I create space for it. And I found that when I intentionally slow down, whether in prayer, journaling, or even just with my thoughts, things start to make sense. Remember that in between time I spoke about earlier, transitioning from my New York Times writing job when I lost my best friend? That season of grief and uncertainty, it forced me to pause and reflect like I had never done before. And I realized purpose wasn't just about what I did, it was about who I am. So often we equate purpose with accomplishments. We think if I just reach this milestone, land this role, or achieve this goal, then I'll feel fulfilled. But fulfillment doesn't come from constantly chasing the next thing. It comes from internal transformation, from growing, learning, becoming more of who we are meant to be. This reminds me of a powerful insight. Romans 12:2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." A shift that changed everything for me, focusing on internal growth and not just external success. Who you are matters more than what you achieve. Meaning comes from growing in wisdom, resilience, and self awareness. Your purpose isn't just about a job title or a season, it's about the person you're becoming. For me, the season of reflection led me back to creativity. I picked up my camera again. I focused on storytelling through photography. I made time to create beauty. And these choices brought so much joy back to my life. If you're feeling disconnected from your purpose, ask yourself, am I only looking for external success, or am I also prioritizing internal growth? Now, I'm sure many of you that are listening to this are thinking, it's too late for me. Maybe you feel like you've missed your moment, like you should have figured this out by now. And here's what I want to remind you: there is no expiration date on discovering purpose. There is no best before date on your gifts, your talents, or your calling. I have a friend who started a business in her 50s after years of believing she had nothing new to offer. And now she's thriving, doing something she loves, and making an impact. I know so many people who switched careers in their 40s and 50s, people who found their passion later in life, people who stepped into something new after a major life transition, whether it was empty nesting, a career shift, or recovering from loss. The takeaway? It's never too late to redefine your purpose. If you've been feeling stuck, ask yourself, what dream have I set aside thinking it was too late? What new path have I been afraid to explore? What small step could I take this week towards something that excites me? Here's what I've learned. Sometimes slowing down and taking a step back can reveal more than striving ever could. I found clarity not by forcing myself to figure it out, but by leaning into self-reflection, by spending time in the Word, and by embracing the unique way I've been created. Here's what I want you to take away. Rediscovering purpose is not about perfection or productivity. It's about stepping into who you were always meant to be. Purpose isn't something you figure out. It's something you uncover. So often, we believe purpose is tied to a title, career, grand achievement. But what if it's not about what we do, but about who we are? The truth is, purpose evolves over time. We go through different seasons. Each one brings new opportunities to grow, to contribute, to redefine what truly matters. So, if you're feeling stuck or unclear about your purpose right now, take a deep breath. You don't have to map out your entire future today. You just have to start exploring. So that's what we're going to do right now, step by step. So, step one, you create a space for clarity. Now, we live in a world that's louder than ever. Our schedules are packed, our minds are overstimulated, and most of us don't even have a quiet moment to ask, am I actually living the life I want? But clarity comes when we create space for it. If you're feeling disconnected from purpose, it might not be because you don't have one. It might be because you haven't had time to hear yourself think. Here's a practical exercise you can try. Try a 10-minute pause challenge. Each day this week, set aside 10 minutes for stillness, whether that's journaling, just sitting in silence, taking a walk, or just breathing. Pay attention to what thoughts surface when the noise settles. Look for clues in your story. That's step two. So often we think a purpose is something we have to find out there in the ether. But in reality, the clues are already in your story. Your strengths, your struggles, your challenges, your defining moments, they all hold answers to what you're uniquely equipped to do. Instead of viewing failures as setbacks, try to see them as stepping stones to clarity. Ask yourself, what challenges have I overcome that gave me wisdom or strength? What struggles have shaped my perspective in a way that can help somebody else? Is there a way my past experiences could be used for something meaningful? Here's a practical exercise to try. Write down 3 difficult experiences you've had, just 3. Then, next to each one, write one lesson it taught you and how that lesson could be useful to someone else. Step 3. Stop comparing and own your strengths. One of the biggest purpose killers, comparison, thief of joy. We scroll through social media and look at what other people are doing, and suddenly our own path feels small. But here's the truth: your purpose is not meant to look like anyone else's. When you focus too much on how your journey measures up to somebody else's, you miss the beauty of what's uniquely yours. Here's a practical exercise you can try. Take a 24-hour social media detox. Scary, I know. From accounts that trigger self doubt. Instead, start a growth journal where you list one small personal win every day. Something that made you proud, even if no one else sees it. Identify your natural gifts and joy triggers. That is step 4. One of the biggest clues to your purpose: what comes naturally to you. We often overlook our strengths because they feel too easy. But what seems ordinary to you might be extraordinary to someone else. Ask yourself, what do people often compliment you on? What do friends and family ask for your advice about? What are the skills and talents that have shown up in the different seasons of your life? Here is a practical exercise you can try. Make a list of 3 things that people have told you you are good at. If you're unsure, ask a friend, ask a family member. Then brainstorm one way you can use each one of these gifts every day in your daily life. Step 5. Try something new and don't fear the failure. Many of us wait for perfect clarity before we take action. But here's the secret: clarity comes from movement, not from overthinking. You don't have to have the whole path figured out. You just need to take one small step. Make a fearless list. Write down 3 things you've always wanted to do but have been too afraid to try. Then choose one micro step towards that goal this week. Whether it's signing up for a class, reaching out to a mentor, or doing research about something you love. Step 6. Shift from striving to serving. Sometimes when we are searching for purpose, we're looking too inward. One of the most powerful ways to rediscover purpose is to serve others, to take what we already have and use it to make a difference, no matter how small. Ask yourself, what's something simple I could do this week to help someone else? Who could benefit from my experience or skills? Where could I contribute? Whether through mentorship, volunteering, or just through offering encouragement. Now, here's a powerful practical exercise you can try. Choose one act of service. It could be as simple as sending a message of encouragement, offering to mentor somebody, or finding a small way to give back. And step 7, reframe purpose as who you are, not what you do. At the end of the day, your purpose is not just about what you do, it's about who you are. If everything external was stripped away, titles, roles, accomplishments, who would you be? Try this. Write a who I am list. This truly changed my life. List 10 things you love about yourself that have nothing to do with achievements. Because before you can walk in purpose, you have to believe that you're already enough. Rediscovering your purpose isn't about finding a big dramatic revelation. It's about tuning in to your story, to your strengths, to the unique way in which you are designed to show up in the world. So, today, I want to leave you with this. Your purpose isn't waiting somewhere in the future. It's already inside you. And as you begin to pay attention, take small steps and trust the process, I promise clarity will come. So, for most of this episode, we've talked about purpose in a way that resonates with anyone. How it evolves, how it's connected to joy, how it's revealed through service, and how it's often uncovered rather than achieved. But like I said in the beginning, I cannot talk about purpose without talking about faith. Because for me, faith is the foundation. For so long, I tied my sense of self-worth to what I was doing. Like so many of us, I thought my purpose was wrapped up in achievements, productivity, external success. If I wasn't achieving, was I valuable? If I wasn't working towards something, did my life matter? If I didn't have a clear plan for the future, was I failing? But here's the truth that changed everything for me. My purpose is not about what I accomplish, it's about who I am in Christ. Psalm 139:14 says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That means my value isn't earned. It was established the moment God created me. And the same is true for you. God didn't design you to prove yourself. He designed you to be His, to be loved by Him, to reflect His goodness in the way you live, work, and love other people. Once I started living from that truth, instead of constantly trying to find my purpose, I started walking in it. Ephesians 2:10 says, For we are His workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God has prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. That means that even before you were born, God has already designed good works for you to step into. And what's even more incredible is He's given you everything you need to fulfill that purpose. 2 Peter 1:3 says, His divine power has given us everything we need for a godly life through our knowledge of Him who called us by His own glory and goodness. That means you don't have to force purpose into existence. You don't have to stress about figuring it all out. You don't have to compare your path to anyone else's. You are already equipped. Your personality, your strengths, your struggles, they're all part of your calling. And God's purpose for you is bigger than you. One of the most freeing things I've learned is this. Purpose isn't just about me. For a long time, I thought finding my purpose meant figuring out what I was supposed to do, what career path I should take, what passion I should pursue, what success should look like. But the more I leaned into faith, the more I realized purpose is always connected to serving others. Mark 10:45 says, The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. That means even Jesus, the ultimate example of purpose, did not live for himself. He lived to serve, to love, to give. And when I shifted my mindset from what am I supposed to do to how can I serve with what I have, that's when I found clarity. Ask yourself, what gifts and talents do I already have that could help someone else? Who around me could benefit from encouragement, mentorship, or support? Where can I contribute? Whether through relationships, work, ministry. Purpose isn't just about what we get from life. It's about what we give. Purpose requires trusting God, even when you cannot see the whole path. I've shared before about how I left my writing job at the New York Times. I had no idea what was next. I felt lost. I wanted a plan. I wanted a step-by-step roadmap for my future. But instead of giving me a 5-year strategy, God gave me just enough for the next step. Enough strength for that day. Enough peace for that moment. Enough grace to take one small step forward. That's how purpose unfolds. It's not always a big revelation. Most of the time, it's a series of small yeses, small moments of faithfulness. Proverbs 3 verses 5 and 6 say, Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. If you feel stuck right now, remember this. You don't need the whole map. You just need to take the next step. God is already preparing your path, even if you don't see it yet. Waiting is not wasted time. It's part of the process. Isaiah 30:21 says, whether you turn to the right or you turn to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. This is saying basically that God is guiding you. Even in uncertainty, He is working. Every part of your story matters, even the hard parts. Sometimes we think that purpose is only found in the good parts of life, the achievements, the victories, the moments when everything feels aligned. But here's what I've learned. God can use every single part of your story, even the broken, messy, painful parts, for good. Romans 8:28 says that we know that in all things, note those words, all things, God works for the good of those who love Him and who have been called according to His purpose. That means that the setbacks that you thought disqualified you, God can use them. That season of waiting where you felt forgotten, God was shaping you. That moment when you thought you failed, God was preparing you. Nothing is wasted in God's hands. So, if you're waiting for a big revelation, maybe this is it. You are already walking in purpose, one step at a time, one moment at a time, as you lean into Him. So often, we feel pressure to figure it all out, to have a plan, to move faster, to catch up. But here's my encouragement to you today. Resist the urge to rush. Psalm 37 verse 23 says, the Lord makes firm the steps of the one who delights in Him. Your job is not to force your way forward. It is just to trust the one who is guiding you. So, take a breath, lean into God, and take the next small step. Because your purpose isn't waiting for you in the future. It's already unfolding right now. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. Rediscovering your purpose is not about chasing some distant pipe dream or waiting for a dramatic revelation. It's about reconnecting with what already matters, embracing who God created you to be, and taking small, faithful steps forward. If you're lost or unsure about what's next, I want you to hear this. You are not behind. You haven't missed your chance. You are exactly where you need to be. And even if you can't see it now, God is still working, still guiding, still writing your story. So take a deep breath and trust that each small step is leading you exactly where you're meant to go. Some topics, like today, naturally lean deeper into faith because they touch on big questions in life. And some topics, like next week's, are a little lighter, more focused on the practical ways we live out these deeper truths in our daily lives. No matter what we talk about here, my goal is always the same: to encourage you, to challenge you, and to remind you that your life has meaning. Speaking of next week's topic, we're diving into something so many of us wrestle with: confidence. We'll talk about how to build it in a way that's lasting and unshakable, and why it's about so much more than how you look or how you feel in the moment, and how faith plays a role in feeling truly secure in who you are. I cannot wait to share that with you. If today's episode spoke to you, I'd love if you subscribe to Pretty Deep on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or on YouTube, or if you'd share it with a friend who might need some encouragement today. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Lots and lots of love.